I have found two quick-release trigger clamps in the trash and decided to restore them. One, because
in the woodworking shop, you can never have enough clamps.
I also decided to restore them because those clamps offer over 4 feet of clamping capacity that I currently do not have, and because new, they can be quite expensive. There are, however, a few issues to solve. There is a lot of rust. The movable jaws are ceased and no longer move. Both fixed jaws are missing.
In the worst case, this could also be an option to make a single clamp.
So, let's tackle each challenge one at a time, starting by checking if the movable jaw can be set in motion. If the mechanism of the movable jaw is damaged or broken, the clamp is useless altogether, so seems a good place to start. For this, let's apply the first rule of DIY.
Thou shalt never underestimate the power of lubrication.
Now the jaw is moving. My original plan was to give the rusty bars a white vinegar bath, which means I had to remove the movable jaw from the clamp. I however changed my plan as I realized that removing the jaws from the clamps would mean fiddling with metal plates and springs and could result in a nightmare to build them back. I therefore moved to plan B, brushing directly white vinegar on the bars with an old toothbrush. Since there is a small curve at the center of the bar, the vinegar will naturally sit in the middle and soak gently into the iron. After 2 hours, I used a piece of aluminium foil to act as a cleaning pad to brush away the rust particles. I then used an old rag to clean up the mess. Before. After. Before. After. Satisfied with this first cleaning, I went to apply the same recipe to the other side of the clamps. As I could not give the bars a full white vinegar bath, I still have here and the patches of rust that I will now take care of with sandpaper. 80 grids for the pre-work, 240 grids for the finish. A word about tools, guys. I'm not a tool enthusiast. I cannot get excited by shiny looking tools. For me, the best tool is the one that you can find without searching for it. It is an object that you use to do some work. It is not a fashion accessory. So, while restoring the clamps, I will therefore aim at bringing them back to a decent state where they can be used, not make show models out of them, since to me at least, This delivers no value nor excitement. At that stage, I'm satisfied with the cleanliness of the bars since it assures an effortless motion of the movable jaw. The next step will be to protect the bars from rust. For this, I opted to use plain old Vaseline, since it acts both as a lubrication agent for the parts and provides, in my environment, sufficient protection against rust. After applying a good layer, I can check and confirm that all is working as designed. I can now start cleaning up the mess I made, since I believe I have rust up till my butt. And start thinking about the last part to finish this restoration project, the making of 2 new fixed jaws.
I'm sure you kept wondering why my hands always look so beautiful during this project. Well, I keep them hydrated with Moisture Surge 72-hour auto replenish hydrator, that not only is good for your hands, but also for your
So, I found clamps in the trash, and today I finished their restoration by making new fixed jaws as the old ones were missing. Since the fixed jaws need to withstand a considerable amount of force, I am planning to make them from hardwood. Unfortunately, the only piece of hardwood I have is an odd shape since it came from the window frame. This means I have to make a few cuts to bring it to the shape I want. Ideally, to make those cuts, the best would be to use a bandsaw or a table saw. But since I only have a circular saw at my disposal, I will have to improvise. While I'm not fan at all of the metal guide that comes standard with a circular saw, in this case, this appeared to be the simplest way for me to make the first 2 cuts safely. Using a circular saw is also going to be more complicated and less accurate. This means, I need to take my time to achieve decent results and to keep it safe since there are a few delicate cuts involved. For the last cut, rather than spending time building a complex, specialized jig, I simply decided to go freehand. Using a circular saw and freehand also meant that I had, here and there, some areas to correct, but overall after a little block plane action, that was not too bad. My plan is to have the metal bar from the clamp sandwiched between 2 pieces of hardwood making up the fixed jaw. I therefore need to carve with my router a little notch at the bottom of my wooden parts for the bar to seat in. If this is a little obscure right now, this should become a little clearer in a minute. Finally, the last of the cuts is to get 4 individual parts that will, when joined together, make up the 2 fixed jaws. I'm using here a cross-cut jig to make sure the circular saw cuts the parts at a precise 90 degrees angle.
Do you know what is the most annoying part when I make woodworking projects? Having to clear away all the
While all cuts were only made with a circular saw, this looks, at least to me, still pretty square. Time now to build the jaws. The plan is to reuse the existing hole in the bars as attachment points. That way I do not have to drill any holes in the metal. This however means that there is a little bit of thinking and planning to do to make sure all the holes are aligned. For that reason, with the wooden part square to the bar, I'm starting by drilling from the inside out. And then from the outside, onto the other side, while everything is clamped together so that it does not move. Off camera, I made some pretty ugly but functional holes for the bolts to fit in, so that the metal hardware does not scratch anything when using the clamp. Now all the holes are drilled and perfectly aligned, I can glue the wooden parts together. For this, I can reuse the two other parts I have at hand to optimally clamp the two parts being glued. Nice. Last, I reused one of the strip of hardwood that I got from my first cut to create 4 pads that I will use on both jaws of the clamps. After having cut one corner of the fixed jaws to make them less bulky, and after adding a little color, just to make it more fun and appealing. There you have it guys, 2 renovated fully functional long-reach clamps. That I can now use to do interesting things like this.